A wise man once said, after all empires are won or lost on the roll of a die. Or maybe that's just what the rulebook to First Empire said. Tonight, Rolling with the Beard, we're reviewing First Empires. First Empires is a civilization game utilizing dice chucking and area control for 2 to 5 players. Here we have a 3-player game set up and ready to go. During their turn, players will consult this orange die rolling track here and see how many dice they get to roll. They will roll those dice, and then next to that is a blue track, and this shows how many rerolls the player can get. So they can take a look at their dice and then decide what they may want to reroll. And then once the rolling and rerolling phase is complete, now the real action starts. Players can then move their meeples around the map, completing conquest, taking over new areas, and just overall mayhem on the board. Players, when moving their meeples into a new region, have to have more meeples than any meeples that are already there. So if I want to move into an area where there's no one there, I can just move 1 meeple in there and it only costs me 1 action point. However, if the area is already controlled by another player, I have to move more meeples in there than that player already has in there. But when moving in there, if I had rolled these sword dice act as if they're extra warriors or meeples, making it easier to conquer new areas. And when you conquer an area, it could possibly have one of the other player's cities, and then that player will take that city token and place it in front of them once you conquer a city, and at the end of the game, you'll flip it over and reveal it and to score points. Most of them are 2 points, some are 3, there's a couple 1s, something like that, but usually they're about the same, 2 points per city. Now, once a player has completed their conquest and moving their meeples about the board, just wreaking havoc, then they have the opportunity to advance on these different tracks. And if the player has presence in any color place with that matching die roll, they get to advance on that track 1 time per die. So if I had an orange die and I was in an orange area, I would get to advance on the orange track. And these help you roll more dice, get more re-rolls, allow you more movement points. They also allow you to draw these achievement cards, which these achievement cards can come in very handy because once you meet the goal or the achievement that is on the card, you show the table and then you get to place that in front of you, and at the end of the game you will score those points. And the last track here is the meeple track. This allows you to place out more of your meeples on the board, giving you just more options to run around and control areas in this area control game. And the whole point of this is just to get the most points at the end of roughly 6 to 8 rounds, depending on the player count. And you will add up your points from your player board. So how high you get on these tracks, you'll add that up with the points that you have scored from collecting any cities and any points that you have on your achievement cards. And the player with the most points wins the game. Simple enough. First Empires, this game is awesome, especially if you're into the light to middleweight area control games. But it also kind of has a Civ feel. Each of the characters has asymmetric powers, yet they feel balanced. So some of the characters will be lacking in some areas, but on the map they're kind of in locations that will allow you to beef up those areas fairly easily. Yeah, it is asymmetrical and it is a hour-long Civ game. To be honest, it almost felt more Civ to me than, say, Tapestry. I know that's kind of a blasphemous thing to say, but leave a comment down below and let me know how wrong I am. It almost feels like Small World the dice game, which is a fantastic thing. It is really easy to teach. This might be my new gateway game for players that are new to the hobby. The dice rolling is awesome. Advancing on those tracks, gaining more abilities, roll more dice, more re-rolls, more dudes on the map, more movement. It's just really great. There is luck involved because of the dice, but I will say that experienced players will know and usually destroy new players at the game. But the game is so quick, it's not that big of a deal to just set up and play again. Like I said, it only takes about an hour maybe for a 4-player game, but there's so much going for it. It looks beautiful. The art is fantastic. All the player boards look good. They're dual layer boards, so your little tokens don't wiggle around too much. Each one of the little city tiles is slightly different for each faction. Each of them has their own meeple shape. The only complaint I can think of, and this is really nitpicking, is the meeples are a little small and the board's a little small. But the insert for the game is fantastic. Each faction has a little paper box thing that is nice and pretty to store all your tokens and cards in. Speaking of cards, there are these achievement cards, which are fantastic because they give you kind of an achievement to strive for, sort of give you direction early on in the game. So you can see, oh, well, I need to control 2 islands. Maybe I'll try to go up and control these islands. Or maybe I need to get 2 cities out on the board. And when you complete these objective cards or these achievement cards, they give you points. And the whole point of the game is to get the most points at the end. And these achievement cards can really help give you the W. Well, like I said, this game is fairly easy. And at first play, it almost seems too easy and too luck-based. But the more you play it and the more experience you get at it, the game slowly reveals strategies to you. And you begin to see like a lot of it is kind of timing too and reacting to the other players and when they zig and when you need to zag and knowing like when to use those little swords. Because some players at first they roll those swords and they're like, well, this kind of stinks because I can't use these swords to move up and beef up on my tracks, you know? I can't roll more dice with this, I can't get more rerolls with this. But what you can do though is say that there's a space and there's 3 guys on there. Well, you would have to move 4 movement and 4 men to take over those 3 guys. But if you only had 1 guy and then, you know, more dice or more of those sword dice to make up for the lack of men, not only are those swords helping you save men, but they're also helping you save movement points. So there's just these little touches, these little nuances that the more you play become more obvious, and it just really shows the depth of this game. It's beautiful, it's easy to teach, it's fun, it doesn't outstay its welcome. If anything, sometimes it feels a touch on the short side because you only play, I think it's 6 to 8 rounds depending on the player count. If this at all sounds interesting to you or like something you would like, I say run out and get it. It is fantastic. The street price is only like 30 bucks, maybe 35, something in that area. It's a fantastic game by Sandcastle Games. They're the ones that brought us Res Arcadia. Anyways, I was checking out their website and First Empire isn't even on their website, which I find very bizarre because this is a fantastic game and I didn't know it was coming out, didn't know anything about it. Just on a whim, saw it, thought it looked pretty, dice chucking civ game, sign me up. Go out and buy it. This is totally staying in the Beards collection. And if you found this episode interesting or informative at all, please consider clicking that subscribe button and joining us again, and leave a comment down below on why you think Tapestry is the best game ever and why First Empire is garbage. But it's not. It's really good.